This is your USMNT Abroad weekend update from August 30th to September 1st of 2024. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV, and welcome to the US Men's National Team Abroad series, where every single Monday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. Now, understand that the United States will play Canada next Saturday. We're going to be doing a full coverage here at Tactical Manager TV, live watch along, 7 things we learned, post game, everything. But during the midweek, we will release a match preview for this specific game between the United States and Canada, the very first game that the US will be playing against Canada ever since Jesse Marsch took over the Canadian men's national team. And this video is brought to you by you, the viewer. Yes, if you hit the like button right now, you're supporting the channel. If you join our Patreon, the link is in the description, you're also supporting the channel. Or if you drop a random comment down below, you're also helping the channel by rigging the YouTube algorithm. Now, there are no more jokes, nothing to say here. There's no more foreplay. We're gonna cut right to it. So let's roll the intro and let's start the weekend recap. As always, we start with the top 5 leagues in Europe, the first one being the English Premier League. And the player that I'm going to talk about here, he loves the bench. This guy loves the bench pretty much as Neymar loves his sister, which is a little bit too much at times. But anyhow, this player is Matt Turner, and he doesn't play for Nottingham Forest anymore. He's going to Crystal Palace on a season-long loan with no option to buy. And here's the problem. He will now be the backup of Dean Henderson at Crystal Palace, as Matt Turner was signed to replace the backup goalkeeper Sam Johnston. So essentially, Turner goes from the third goalkeeper at Nottingham Forest to be the backup goalkeeper at Crystal Palace. A loan to sit on the bench. And I must ask, does he not want to play? Does he think minutes are not important? Because Matt Turner looked a lot sharper for the US men's national team when he played in MLS and was actually getting minutes. You know, did he really not have any other options where he would actually be the starter, or he would at least arrive as the starter and it would be his position to lose? I guess this is a slight upgrade because now he only needs 1 injured goalkeeper instead of 2 injured goalkeepers to play. Next up, we have Chris Richards from Crystal Palace. And on Sunday, Richards started and played the full 90 minutes for Crystal Palace as a left center back in a back 3 during their 1-1 draw with Chelsea. Still in England, we have Anthony Robinson from Fulham. And on Saturday, A-Rob started and played the full 90 minutes for Fulham during their 1-1 draw with Ipswich Town. Robinson was rock solid defensively, as always, and for the second consecutive week, he got an assist. Most of his assists are low crosses, and this one was no different. The best thing to ever happen to A-Rob was the fact that he actually found out that he can't cross the ball when it comes to finding headers. He realized low crosses were his thing, and that led to multiple assists in the English Premier League, even some for the US men's national team, a massive upgrade on his game when it comes to his offense. It's pretty much as if Tony Allen developed a 3-point shot. That's probably the best analogy that I can make for the NBA fans, if you want to understand what A-Rob adding crosses or low crosses to his game added to his offense. Next up would have been Tyler Adams from Bournemouth, but as you know, he's still injured. He's expected to be back late September or early October. All right, time to leave England and go to Italy so we can talk about the Americans in the Serie A, the Italian First Division. The first two being Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa from Milan. And on Saturday, Christian Pulisic started and played a full 90 minutes for Milan during their 2-2 draw with Lazio. As for Yunus Musa, he started off the bench and was subbed in the 70th minute. So Milan is off to a terrible start in the Serie A. They have 2 points in 3 games. It is terrible. If at this rate, you'll be a relegation battle team. Of course, they're not going to be a relegation battle team. They'll probably fight for top 4, but it's been a pretty bad start. Regardless, how did the Americans do? Christian Pulisic played as a left winger for most of this game, as Rafael Leão was actually benched. Then Leão was subbed into the second half, and then Christian Pulisic played as a right winger. For the first half, Christian Pulisic was great. He played very well. He could have easily had 2 or 3 assists, but he only got 1. And it was a great cross delivered by Pulisic off a corner that gave him the assist and Milan the lead in this game. During the second half, I would say Christian Pulisic wasn't bad, but he was a bit more quiet, doing a lot of the dirty work, tracking back. He did set up Tammy Abraham late in the game for a good shot that got saved by the goalkeeper. Overall, despite the quiet second half on offense, it was a very good performance from Christian Pulisic. As for Yunus Musa, he did fine. He wasn't great, spectacular, or as good as Christian Pulisic, but he came off the bench, played a little bit over 20 minutes, and he looked fine in the double pivot, right? The only issue with Yunus Musa is very often he is really good in almost everything when he's like halfway through the field. Once he reaches the final third, he just starts to suck. He just becomes a terrible player every single time. My theory is because time and space are compressed when you make it to the final third, and that's where you have to make quicker decisions, be a bit more technical in tight spaces, and Musa just seems to struggle with that, even though he's a very technical player, especially when it comes to dribbling. It almost feels like when he's halfway through the field, he kind of looks like prime Essien. Remember that guy that played for Chelsea? And then when he reaches the final third, he's like Uriel Antuna or Paul Riola. You get the point. Next up, we have Timothy Weah and Weston McKennie that play for Juventus. And on Sunday, McKennie started off the bench and was subbed in the 67th minute for Juve during their 0-0 draw with Roma. The good news here is that Weston McKennie finally got some minutes. That's all. He looked a bit rusty, which makes sense. He missed most of preseason, if not the entire preseason, and these were his first actual minutes this season. As for Tim Weah, he's dealing with a muscle injury and should be back at some point in September. The last American in Italy would have been Gianluca Busio from Venezia because Tanner Tessman does not play for Venezia anymore. He moved to Lyon. We're going to talk about him very soon. But Busio is still injured, so he didn't play for Venezia once again. Now it's time to go to Germany, a country that is top 3 in the world alongside Japan and China with the toughest words to pronounce. But with that said, let's talk about Giovanni Reina, which is easy to pronounce, from Borussia Dortmund. That's also easy to pronounce. And on Saturday, Gio Reyna stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Dortmund during their 0-0 draw with Werder Bremen. Hey, if his minutes continue to be non-existent, it's on him. And I know they were playing man down halfway through the second half, but even prior to that, Adeyemi was sent in, Malen was sent in, but no Gio Reyna even though the game was 0-0. So again, it's still early in the season, but just like tactical managers' knees, it ain't looking good. And trust me, I may be young, but these knees right here, they're as bad as a 77 or 78-year-old man with arthritis. But now let's talk about an American that actually plays quite a bit in the Bundesliga. And his name is Joe Scally from Borussia Mönchengladbach, a word that took me roughly 6 months to learn how to properly pronounce it. And on Saturday, Joe Scally started and played the full 90 minutes for Borussia Dortmund during their 2-0 win over Bochum. A much better performance from Scally this time around when compared to last weekend. Of course, facing Bochum is a lot easier than facing Leverkusen. Joe Scally was good defensively, he helped his team hold a clean sheet and actually was very much involved in possession, getting 92 touches, along with getting 57 accurate passes out of 59. Overall, a good performance from the American right back on offense and defense. The other American in Germany would have been Kevin Paredes from Wolfsburg, but he's still injured. He should be back halfway through September, something like that. We'll keep you posted. So let's skip on Kevin Paredes and talk about Leonard Maloney from Heidenheim. And on Sunday, Maloney started and played 41 minutes for Heidenheim during their 4-0 win over Augsburg. And he was subbed out early at minute 41 due to a lower back injury. That didn't really look good. He even struggled to walk on his own off the pitch. Hopefully it's not a big deal and he comes back right after international break. But at the time of this recording, we have no updates. And I heard from Edgar, CONCACAF Edgar on Twitter, a very reliable source for most of the time. He's very reliable, and I trust him. And he said Leonard Maloney was actually in the U.S. men's national team roster, and he was cut due to this injury, and they added Aiden Morris to replace him. Okay, I just want to put that update out there. With that said, there's one more American that I want to talk about in the Bundesliga because he is playing a lot for Union Berlin, and his name is Pifak. On Friday, Pifak started and played 89 minutes for Union Berlin during their 1-0 win over St. Pauli. And now it's time to leave Germany and go to Spain. Talk about the Americans that play in La Liga. The first one being Luca de la Torre from Celta de Vigo. And de la Torre didn't get a transfer. I believe the transfer window is closed by the time you are watching this. He didn't get a transfer. And he didn't make the bench for Celta de Vigo this weekend. So I don't really know what's going on with Luca de la Torre as of now. Apparently he was injured and he just came back from injury. Once the international break is over, we'll know what's going on with Luca de la Torre. And if he doesn't play at all the next 6 months, then he'll probably get a move in January. So let's skip Luca de la Torre and talk about Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis. And on Sunday, Johnny started off the bench and was subbed in the 57th minute for Betis during their 2-0 loss to Real Madrid. Johnny wasn't great or awful. I would say he was slightly below average. I would expect more from him. I think he can do much better than what he did. What happened is when he was sent in with Vitor Roque, the game was actually still 0-0, but then Kylian Mbappe scored a brace and gave Real Madrid the win. I actually thought Kylian Mbappe did not play well. Vinicius was probably the best performer for Real Madrid, but he finally scored for Madrid, got a brace, so congratulations to Kylian Mbappe. I don't really like him. We're done with Germany. Time to go to France and talk about the Americans that play in Ligue 1. And I'm not going to teach you for free again how to pronounce words in French or German. If you want to learn how to speak German or French, you can join our Patreon. Link is in the description. I'm very good at it. I will teach you how to say every single word that ever existed in German and French with the proper pronunciation. And this is totally not a scam. If you followed us for long enough, you definitely know that I'm really good at these words. Patreon is in the description, the link. Okay, full disclaimer, because I don't want to get, reported. I totally don't know French and German, in case you're wondering. But you know what? Let's talk about Floating Balogun from Monaco. And on Sunday, Balogun started and played 65 minutes for Monaco during their 1-1 draw with Lens. Balogun was not very good in the first half, and then he was not very good again in the second half, which led to him being subbed out early. So yes, he dropped another stinker, a smelly one. He seems to thrive in systems that play in transition, while when it's a possession-based one, he struggles off the ball and in combination play, which is how Monaco plays, which is different from Rennes, the team that he previously played in France when he dropped over 20 goals in a season. No further comments. He dropped another stinker, and that's it. Not going to say anything else. Next up, we have Caleb Wiley that plays for Strasbourg and Tanner Tessman that plays for Lyon because they clashed over the weekend. And on Friday, Caleb Wiley started off the bench for Strasbourg and was subbed in at halftime during their 4-3 loss to Lyon. Caleb Wiley got his first Ligue 1 assist for Strasbourg. A very nice assist, by the way, in a very well-placed through ball. He did, however, have a few shaky moments and was at fault in one of the goals, but overall, this is actually quite encouraging. He will learn from his mistakes and grow as a player. There is potential. There's something there. As for Tanner Tessman, he came off the bench around minute 87 and made his debut in Ligue 1 for Lyon, helping them hold the 4-3 lead. He literally just arrived a few days ago, so getting a few minutes is actually also very encouraging. Last but not least, in France, we have Marc McKenzie from Toulouse. And on Saturday, Marc McKenzie started and played the full 90 minutes for Toulouse during their 3-1 loss to Marseille. I was half watching this game because Christian Pulisic was playing at the same time, but I tuned out in the second half because Toulouse was just ass. They were terrible, losing 2-0 and playing man down. But in the first half, McKenzie was actually fine during those 45 minutes. The goals they conceded were not really on him. He was one of their best defenders for whatever that's worth, and McKenzie played as a left center back in the back three. And before I actually draw a conclusion of Marc McKenzie in France, I want to watch more games. I still don't have an opinion. I want to see him play against other opponents, see how he does. So far, so good. I also want to give him some time to adjust to France and adjust the French league. So by the time we're around late October, I'll probably have a better conclusion of whether or not he's actually a Ligue 1 level defender. But as I said, so far, so good. We are done with the top 5 leagues in Europe, so we're going to go to the Netherlands and talk about the Americans that play in the Eredivisie. The first 3, or actually the first 4, being the PSV boys, Malik Tillman, Serginho Dest, that is actually not playing, he'll be back in January of 2025 due to a torn ACL, Ricardo Pepi, and Richie Ledesma. And on Sunday, Malik Tillman and Richie Ledesma both started for PSV during their 3-0 win against the almighty Go Ahead Eagles. I will never get over the fact that someone decided to name their soccer club Go Ahead Eagles. I love it. And due to the fact that I'm very immature, I really want to buy their jersey for all the wrong reasons. So if you know where I can buy a Go Ahead Eagles jersey, let me know in the comment section down below while you're dropping a like in this video, because you probably already did that, because I really want it. like a lot. But back to the game, Tillman was the man of the match. He got a brilliant assist where he recovered the ball while pressing the opponent up top, blew by the first defender, cut the second defender to create space, and placed a perfect pass for his teammate to score. Now, throughout the game, Malik Tillman did seem a bit sleepy at times, and he does that in many games in the Eredivisie or for the US men's national team. But what I've been noticing these first few games, and we did notice this most of last season as well, he is levels above the average Eredivisie player. As for Ledesma, he went the full 90 minutes and he was pretty average, I would say. I doubt he'll continue to start for PSV as a right back. Now, Ricardo Pepi came off the bench around the 35th minute because Luuk de Jong got injured. And listen, I'm not the type of guy to celebrate a player getting injured, but that's literally what will lead to Ricardo Pepi getting minutes. If you just watch Pepi and Luuk de Jong play, you can clearly see that Luuk de Jong is better than Ricardo Pepi in pretty much every single skill and attribute that you need as a center forward. I swear, he's better than Ricardo Pepi at everything. So the only way Pepi will play is if Luuk de Jong needs rest or he's injured. The problem is Pepi didn't take advantage of this. He did hit the crossbar once, but as I said, you can clearly see when you're watching the game that de Jong is just a far better player. It's not even close with Ricardo Pepi. All you have to do is watch them play. It also does seem, based on a few reports, that Luuk de Jong is fine and might not miss any time at all, as he's likely expected to be back right after the international break. So that's it for the PSV boys. Now let's talk about the two players that play for Utrecht, and they are Paxton Aronson and Taylor Booth. And on Sunday, Paxton Aronson started and played 89 minutes for Utrecht during their 2-1 win over Twente. Paxton wasn't great playing out wide, definitely a below average performance, while Taylor Booth stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes. It has been a pretty bad season for Taylor so far. Sure, it just started. What do we have, like 3 or 4 games, but I believe he barely played, might have played like 1 or 2 minutes. Now we're going to go back to the island and talk about the Americans that play in the EFL Championship, the second division of England. The first one being Josh Sargent from Norwich and Haji Wright from Coventry, because they clashed over the weekend in a game that was terrible, horrible. I hope you didn't watch it. And on Saturday, Sargent started and played the full 90 minutes for Norwich during their 1-0 win over Coventry. As for Haji Wright, he started for Coventry as a left winger and was subbed out around minute 78. I woke up early for this game on Saturday, and let me tell you, it sucked. It was pure soccer terrorism. No one deserves to watch a game like this. Haji Wright wasn't great, he played super deep at times, and Sargent was meh and got no service. All I'm saying is I regret waking up at like 7:30 a.m. on Saturday to watch this shit show. But I did it for you. Next up is Brenden Aaronson from Leeds Red Bull United. And on Saturday, Brenden Aaronson started once again for Leeds and played the full 90 minutes during their 2-0 win over Hull City. Next up, we have Aidan Morris from Middlesbrough and Ethan Horvath from Cardiff City, that is from Wales, the country, because they clashed over the weekend. And on Saturday, Aidan Morris started and played the full 90 minutes for Middlesbrough during their 2-0 win over Cardiff City. A very strong performance from Aidan. He was ball secure, great with his defensive awareness, and in my opinion, he actually scored their second goal that was counted by the ref as an own goal. Sure, his shot was going slightly off target, it was noticeable, but it was still his shot that deflected and went in. I'm counting it as his goal. And what the ref says doesn't really matter. If I say it was a goal, then a goal it was. As for Ethan Horvath, he started, played the full 90 minutes for Cardiff City, and obviously conceded both of the goals because he was their goalkeeper. Next up would have been Luca Koleosho from Burnley, but I'm going to be very quick. I'm going to be very brief with his section. He dropped a stinker over the weekend for Burnley. That's all I'll say. And he will be playing this international break for Italy's U21. So he's still not cap tied to Italy. He could still play for the US, but he will be with Italy's youth teams once again. Still in the island, we're going to go to Scotland and talk about the Americans that play in Scotland, in the Scottish Premiership, that play for Celtic. And they are Cameron Carter-Vickers and now their new signing, Austin Trusty. And on Sunday, Cameron Carter-Vickers started and played the full 90 minutes for Celtic during their 3-0 win over Rangers in the Scottish Premiership. Austin Trusty just left Sheffield and signed a permanent deal with Celtic, and he made the bench, staying there the full 90 minutes, which makes sense. He literally just got there like 2 days ago. Lastly, we would have talked about the Americans in Liga MX, but we don't feel like covering them this weekend. Brendan Vasquez did score a goal. I believe it was a penalty kick. But again, the Americans that are playing Liga MX right now are not really in the US men's national team picture. We talked about them before. It's Brendan Vasquez, Zendejas that's actually injured, Cade Cowell, Fidel Barajas. So we're not going to go into that. If they do something spectacular at some point, we'll cover it, but not every single weekend because there are only so many players one guy can watch over the weekend. Even though obviously I can't watch all of them, but I try to give the best assessment possible to you. Right, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you go, and don't forget, during the midweek, we will do a match preview for the United States versus Canada match, and obviously on Saturday we'll do the full coverage of the United States versus Canada, the live watch along, and the 7 things we learned. Now, if you made it this far in the video, I'm gonna tell you one thing I heard, and this can be a little secret between the both of us, or not the both of us, because there's thousands of people watching this, but not everyone makes it to the very end of the video. I heard that Mauricio Pochettino will get announced as US men's national team coach this Wednesday. I can't confirm it, but it was from more than one source, so it probably will happen. With that said, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and have a great day.